Hello everyone and welcome to Moementum channel. In this video, we'll review the best ETFs in the various markets, including the US, Canada, international, and all-in-one ETFs. We'll also review the most common myths around ETFs. We'll learn how ETFs can help with diversifying your investments and helping you build wealth. By the end of this video, you'll have a great idea of some of the best ETFs that can help you achieve financial freedom. But before we get started, let's take a moment to review what an ETF is. An ETF, or exchange traded fund, is an investment fund that lets you buy a large basket of individual stocks or bonds in one purchase. Unlike mutual funds, ETFs may be bought and sold during the entire trading day, just like a stock on an exchange. Alright, so let's take a look at the best US exchange traded funds. On top of the list, we have XUU, iShares Core S&P US Total Market Index, which has only a 0.08 management expense ratio, MER. This exchange traded funds consists of 3,459 overall holdings, helping your investments to be diversified and providing a cushion for your investments. Second on this list is Vanguard S&P 500 Index Exchange Traded Funds with the ticker symbol VFV. It also has an MER of 0.08% and about 507 holdings in this ETF. This ETF provides unhedged exposure to the S&P 500 at a very low cost. Third on this list, we have Vanguard S&P 500 Index ETF with Canadian Hedged, VSP. Consists of similar number of holdings, and it provides currency hedge exposure to the S&P 500 at no extra cost. And lastly on this list, we have BMO S&P 500 Index ETF. Again, it's in Canadian currency with a MER of 0.09%, consisting of 505 holdings. It is an alternative to VFV, tied on fees, and fund size is largest among the 4 US core ETFs. Moving on and looking at the best Canadian ETFs here on the list, the first one is VCN, Vanguard FTSE Canada All Cap Index Exchange Traded Funds with an MER of only 0.06%, consisting of 212 holdings. It provides exposure to Canadian small, medium, and large caps companies with ultra low fees. Second on this list, we have iShares Core S&P TSX, or Toronto Stock Exchange Capped Composite Index, or XIC. It has an MER of only 0.06% and consists of holdings of about 250 companies. This ETF tracks Canada's best known index with a very low fee. Third on this list, we have Horizons S&P TSX 60 ETF. It consists of only 60 holdings and provides a very tax efficient way of getting exposure to Canadian companies with a very low MER of 0.03%. And lastly on this list, we have BMO S&P TSX Capped Composite IDX ETF, ticker symbol ZCN, for an MER of 0.06%. It consists of about 251 companies, and the fee is as low as VCN and XIC, whereas it provides more assets than VCN as part of its holding. When we compare this list to the similar type of list was provided by Morningstar, and Morningstar was actually looking at Canada's top 3 ETFs for the entire decade, the time span of 2010 to end of 2019. They came up with this top 3 ETFs. So you can see ZCN is on this list as the best one. As you can notice here, ZCN has a total annualized return over the span of 10 years of 6.26%. Next on the list, this second one is XIC, which you also noticed it was on our previous list. This one has similarly a gold rating and a 6.83 total return annualized of 10 year. And lastly on this list, we have XSP with a total return annualized on 10 year of 12.24%, which is just impressive return for this ETF. Moving on and looking at the best international ETFs on our list, we have top 5. The first one is XAW, iShares Core MSCI All Country World with exposure to Canada Index ETF, MER of 0.22, and consists of 7,881 holdings. This ETF provides global all-cap fund that is lower cost, and it has provided tax efficiency for you. A new fund we have on the second on this list, Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap with the ticker symbol VXC. with an MER of 0.27% and over 10,000 holdings as part of this ETF. The third on this list, we have XEF, iShares Core MSCI EAFE Index ETF. Again, with a similar MER and consisting of 2,514 holdings. Fourth on this list, we have Vanguard Emerging Markets All Cap VEE with a MER of 0.24% and consists of over 4,700 holdings. This ETF provides exposure to emerging markets index that tracks China A shares. And lastly, on this list for our international best ETFs, we have Vanguard FTSE developed all cap with exposure to North America index. We have VIU with MER of 0.23%, consisting of 3,723 holdings or different type of companies or businesses. This provides a more diversified approach than XEF, while similarly being tax efficient. Moving on, we have the best OneStop ETF portfolios. This consists of the different exchange traded funds that have a mixture of different diversification. It's not necessarily looking at one region, but rather a combination of different type of exchange traded funds and various companies throughout the world. The first on this list, we have VGRO or Vanguard Growth ETF portfolio. The second on this list is Vanguard Balanced Exchange Traded Funds, and lastly we have Vanguard Conservative Exchange Traded Funds. The difference is that for the first one, or the growth one, we have it consists of holding 7 different Vanguard ETFs inside this VGRO, and gives you exposure to 80% equities or stocks versus only 20% bonds. The second one, VBAL, holds again 7 Vanguard ETFs, but about 60% on equities and 40% on bonds. And lastly, we have VCNS, which holds 7 Vanguard ETFs consisting of 40% equities and a bigger portion on bonds, which is 60%. VEQT, it provides 100% exposure to equities, so again this is way more aggressive. And lastly, we have ticker symbol VCIP. It holds 7 Vanguard ETFs but provides only 20% exposure to equities versus 80% on bonds. Many popular ETFs track well-known stock indexes like the S&P 500. Because most ETFs don't require humans to make trading decisions, they tend to come with the lower management expense ratios than the mutual funds. ETFs that mirror indices like the stock or bond market have attracted by far the most investment from individual investors. A particularly popular way for investors to own a small stake of the American economy, as an example, is to invest in an ETF that seeks to mirror the S&P 500, an index of the 500 publicly traded American companies with the highest market capitalization. Since purchasing an ETF contains dozens, if not hundreds of stocks, investing in an ETF will automatically diversify your investments over the purchase of one stock, and you will be afforded some natural protection, cushioning your investments from the market volatility. Alright, now we want to take a look at the top 3 ETF myths that exist out there. While ETFs have enjoyed increasing popularity over the last decade, there are still widely held misconceptions about this type of investment. So let's try to take a look at the top 3 of those and debunk those myths here. The first one is that ETFs only offer broad market exposure. While many ETFs offer broad market exposure by tracking a broad market index such as the S&P 500 index, and these broad market ETFs used to be the first types of ETFs that ever created, over the last decade the ETFs market has evolved drastically. In fact, the ETF landscape has greatly evolved over the years, and now you have a much broader choice of exchange traded funds to choose from, including the ETFs that focus on specific asset classes, different sectors, different geographies and whatnot. The second myth here is that ETFs trade exactly like stocks. Well, this is again a myth, because ETFs and stocks are alike in a sense that they both trade on exchange. That being said, they are different in several different ways. For instance, an ETF trading price is based on the value of the securities that is held in its portfolio, unlike stocks where the prices are driven by supply and demand between the investors in the marketplace. And the third myth to debunk here is that ETFs are all low cost. Well, ETF management fees can range from just a few basis points to almost 1% point per year, depending on their complexity. That being said, investors have to determine which ETF represents the best value for them, the right fit for the right cost to help them achieve their investment goals and achieve financial freedom. There you have it, guys, the top best ETFs for you to consider as you find your way investing in the stock market. And here are some of the resources that have been used. I hope you got some value out of this video. If you have any question for us regarding the exchange traded funds, about investing in the stock market, or any similar topics, please feel free to leave us a comment down below. Here on Moementum channel, we provide frequent videos related to investing, finances, and personal development. And we would definitely hope that you join us by subscribing to our channel, hitting the bell notification, and liking this video. Thank you, and see you on our next video.